Hello, hello. It is Topical Tuesday, August 14th, 2018. Steve Sipress here. And yep, once again, you can maybe hear the rumbling behind me that these black rain storm clouds are rolling in. It seems to be happening almost every day for the past little over a week. And I had somebody asked and said, man, is it really like this here every day and this all the time? Like, I've only been here 3 years, but I had maybe a few storms the last couple of years over the summers. It certainly wasn't every single night for a week. Now, during my 9 years of door-to-door sales career, I spent 4 months one winter in Miami, Florida, doing door-to-door sales around that whole area from January through April. And pretty much every day at like 3:45 till 4 o'clock was a thunderstorm. So you just knew, get underneath, get inside, do something, because it's about to be a total downpour for 15 minutes, and then it's done. And that did happen pretty much every afternoon around that time. But here, seems to be similar. Like every evening around this time now, these storm clouds are rolling in from the east, while the sun is clearly out right here, right behind me. There's the sun. Blue skies, and then yet as the clouds roll in from the east, we got black, ominous rain clouds. So you'll hear the thunder a little bit as I go through my rant here on Topical Tuesday, because I tend to like having a positive life and getting a lot of work done, and so I don't really pay attention to what other people think the news is. There's the thunder. To me, news is when I talk to my clients, and the news is, hey, I made a new sale, I got my webinar going, I got my online marketing system put in place, got 5 new clients, this happened, that happened, had a record-setting month. That's all news to me. But of course, that would never fly on the networks or the cable news channels or whatever, where anything that's scary or negative, of course, gets all the attention, right? So Topical Tuesday, I want to talk about something that's in the news, on people's minds, going on these days. And so I turn on the news, and sure enough, I see that this Peter Strzok, this infamous FBI agent, that they uncovered somehow all these text messages that the guy did on his work phone, government property, for crying out loud, while he was having an affair with another FBI member or something, right? So they're texting back and forth, and he's unbelievably vitriolic, anti-Trump like you wouldn't believe. Talk about Trump derangement syndrome. He's going back and forth with, we're going to get him, and you'll see, and, we're going to put up a fake Russian collusion investigation that'll cripple him for a couple of years, and blah, 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 and it's all that's been happening. And so Ace is here, great seeing you. Well, here's the thing. I see that suddenly this guy, why he wasn't fired before for doing all these things is beyond me. It's the same thing I talked about when McCabe got fired, like the day before his pension was going to vest. Like, yeah, you think 1 penny of my tax dollars should pay that guy's pension, the creep? He becomes a law enforcement officer, one of the top law enforcement officers in the whole land, and he's a scheming, scumming, lying, corrupt guy. Like, get rid of that guy, and no, he shouldn't get another penny of tax dollars. So, of course, Comey and McCabe and all these guys are now struck. They go on to GoFundMe, and they get hundreds of thousands of dollars from I don't know who that loves, corrupt FBI people. But I'm going to tell you right now, I love Peter Strzok, and I couldn't be happier, although now he's fired. But unfortunately, I wish he wasn't, because I couldn't be happier to have this guy, and hopefully there's more like him, on our side of the U.S. Think about it. Ace is here from liberal morons. Don't know what's from liberal morons, but Ace does not like liberals, so he's going to call them morons. A lot of liberals I know are extremely intelligent. A lot of conservatives I know are extremely intelligent, but Ace says they're morons. And now he says he's a bulldog. Well, maybe. I call him a pit bull, though. And the money. Anyway, so let me get on with it here, because now I see some lightning with the thunder. And so Peter Strzok, I got to tell you why I love the guy. I only love the guy because, well, he was on our team. See, as long as countries like China and Iran exist that live to dominate, their goal is to dominate the U.S., which they're pretty much going to do in the near future, because we're idiotic. And Iran wants to wipe us off the face of the earth. As long as that happens, this whole kumbaya, Obama's perfect ooh la la world of everybody loves everybody and it's all global and there are no borders and can't we all just get along and let's bow down and apologize and we're not great America and that's not going to work, folks, because there are people out there that want to destroy America. So got to have the strong borders and the strong military and all that. It's just the way it is. Maybe someday in the future, the perfect world that these globalists want, where everyone's just one big kumbaya country, and everyone's all on the same side, and there are no more wars. Maybe that'll happen, but it ain't happening now. So as long as that's not happening, it's nice to know that the U.S. has people like Peter Strzok that have obviously gone through some amazing training. And here's the deal. When you have a pit bull, or a bulldog, but I really call him a pit bull, an attack animal that's been trained to attack, like Peter Strzok, and then the animal attacks somebody, somehow is that like the entire fault lies with the animal? Absolutely not. The fault lies with the trainer, and actually the trainer who unleashed them offensively, where the pit bull could be trained to attack, but that's in a defensive mode, right? So it's there to protect a home or a business at night when no one's there. They get the Dobermans or the pit bulls or whatever these attack dogs are in case someone comes in unwanted. They can attack them. That's in a defensive way. That's kind of the FBI. You commit a crime against the U.S. or U.S. citizens or U.S. interest, and you do things like, the FBI gets the worst of the worst, right? The biggest drug dealers, pedophiles, sex trafficking people, kidnappers, murderers, all that kind of stuff. They don't usually get political cases. And I see all these questions coming in, and I'll address them later, because let me get through this now. So where was I? So Peter Strzok is one of these guys. Only he was unleashed in an offensive way. Most likely, if they allow it to come out, almost undoubtedly by Obama himself, because who else can do it? Obama was in charge of the FBI, did not like Trump, understatement of the millennium, and wanted to see Trump lose, and so another, liberal, Hillary more conservative than Trump in lots of ways, but more liberal in other ways, and she would have continued some of Obama's things where Trump is just mowing them down one by one and reversing every damaging thing Obama did and some of the good things he did, because he's just erasing the guy from history. So obviously, Obama would do anything. And when I say anything, it's coming out how underhanded and scheming and scumming and illegal some of the things that he did, including unleashing a pit bull like Peter Strzok on a political candidate in the U.S., not a drug-dealing, international warlord, pedophilia, sex trafficking terrorist, a political candidate. Give me a break. However, the beauty of the U.S. law enforcement training system was on full display. I didn't watch all of it, of course. When this Peter Strzok, like a month ago or whatever, was up in front of Congress for like 8 hours, I caught a little of it. I was marveling at how great the training is in America for these people. And he was right up at the top, so he'd been there a while and had tremendous training, and obviously was from what I saw, he never broke a sweat, he didn't bat an eye, he didn't flinch, he didn't hesitate, he didn't show any emotion at all as he lied outright, as he admitted to all kinds of bias and damaging things that he said and did and whatever. This guy is like a machine. It just reminded me of the Terminator. You know who it really reminded me of? The movie with Jack Nicholson and Tom Cruise, A Few Good Men. Okay, that comes on all the time. The scenes are famous if you hadn't seen them. The movie, here's the deal. The movie was made by a complete liberal, off the deep end weenie, meathead, Rob Reiner. So the movie makes it seem and wants you to think that Tom Cruise, the Weasley, whiny little kid who's never done anything in his life, who's like a man-child, right? This is like a grown man, but he plays softball and he goofs around, and he's never taken a case to court, actually. He's afraid to actually do that. He's just a cowardly guy that settles every suit and goes out and plays his games and kind of tiptoes through life because his dad was a famous or a big-time war colonel or something, so he's like living off his dad's thing and being a weenie. And he's made out to be the hero in the movie because he takes down the bad guy, Jack Nicholson. Well, here's the deal. The good guy is Jack Nicholson. Sorry, that's how I see it. That's the Marine running the base on Guantanamo Bay, whereas Jack Nicholson says throughout the movie, you want me on that wall, and you need me on that wall, and I live, eat, and breathe, and whatever, 90 miles from people who want to kill me every minute of every day. You try that, Tom Cruise, Mr. Weenie. Like, you try that, all the weenie congressmen that we saw questioning him all day, that also would not be up on a wall in Guantanamo with sights, guns sights on them 24 hours a day, risking their life to protect America. Those are the true heroes. That's Peter Strzok. Not now that he's fired, but when he was with the FBI. He was there to protect America. Now again, his boss unleashed him illegally, dishonestly, unethically on an opposing political candidate like the scum that Obama was. That's one of the scummier things he did, if not the scummiest. And therefore, Peter Strzok was just doing his job. And this, now here's another thing. All these text messages, oh, Trey Gowdy, I love Trey Gowdy. Talk about a Tom Cruise weenie type of character. You got this Trey Gowdy, oh, you know, are you telling me that before you even interviewed him, you were saying you hope he got impeached? And yeah, you think? That's called how FBI agents are trained. So let's take any other case that Peter Strzok ever got in his 20-some years, or whatever, in law enforcement. Do you think he was handed a file and said, here's the next case I want you to work on? It's this notorious drug lord, kidnapping, murdering, sex trafficking scum. And right away, Peter Strzok started sending text messages saying, you know, I have a complete open slate about this guy, and let's see till we unearth some evidence. And no, immediately he was like, holy crap, I'm going to string this guy up by the balls. We're going to lock this guy up and throw away the keys. What a scum. So it's natural. You hand him Trump, and he just starts saying all the same stuff. Oh, we're going to lock this guy up. Oh, he sucks. Oh, we're going to get him. You'll see. Insurance policy, this, that. Yeah. Like I said, shouldn't been happen to an American political candidate, for crying out loud. But anybody else the FBI ever deals with, which is who they should deal with, actual criminals, that's great that that's the way we are. That's law enforcement. Now in the courts, it has to be, oh, innocent until proven guilty, and, you know, oh, Your Honor, and, you know, all this kind of my esteemed this, and the innocent party, and he's only the assumed drug dealer. What do they say? He's the alleged murdering, drug dealing, whatever. Come on now. But the actual cops, FBI agents going after him, they got to go after him, tooth and nail, everything they got. They're the pit bull, they're the Doberman, they're the Terminator. We want them on this wall, and yes, I can handle the truth. That's the truth. You want me on this wall, Peter Strzok. Peter Strzok could have said that right to Trey Gowdy and the rest of those weenies. He just said, you want me at the FBI. You need me at the FBI. I save your life. Now, of course, again, not in this particular instance, which, let me address this particular instance again, where they're talking about, oh, you know, the findings found that, of course, Strzok was biased and hated Trump and all that. However, he never acted on that bias. And everyone finds that so hard to believe. Really? How is that hard to believe at all, that he didn't act on his bias? I talked about all these criminals. Well, every single criminal that goes into a court in America gets a defense attorney. It's the way it works. The attorney knows. There was an attorney for Bernie Madoff. There was attorneys for O.J. Simpson. There's attorneys for Hillary Clinton. The most notorious, obvious criminals that there are all have attorneys defending them. Defending the biggest scum in the world where they know they're guilty, and they defend them. So that means, so are they acting on the fact that they know the guy is a scum-killing, murdering, pedophiliac, whatever they are? No. They're able to address the court and say, my client should get less bail, and he should get less of a sentence, and, you know, he should get off on a technicality. They fight for him. So, of course, Peter Strzok can do his job when he's on 9 to 5, even if he hates the subject of the job. A surgeon also. You know, I remember the day, I do remember the day when John F. Kennedy was shot, but I do remember reading about how the doctors were operating furiously on John F. Kennedy in 1962 with the head wound, and then in comes Lee Harvey Oswald. Ooh, we got the lightning and the thunder now. And so a little live action in the background of the video, huh? So in comes Lee Harvey Oswald, because he was shot by Jack Ruby. He comes in the same hospital, and the doctor's like, yeah, now we got to try and save his life. Do you think they loved Lee Harvey Oswald? You don't think they had a bias against assassination of the president? Pretty sure they weren't in favor of that, and yet they're a professional. They put that aside, and they did their job. And I believe, I'll believe it to my core till the day I die, that Strzok did the same thing. He said, yeah, I'm biased against Trump completely, and I hate the guy privately with all these text messages, but when I'm on the job, I'm doing my job. I'm doing my job by the book. How about anybody have kids in Little League? So you have a kid in Little League, and maybe there's no umpire, so who's umping? Well, it's one of the parents or one of the kids. In fact, that's usually the coach of the kid is also now umping the game. So if their kid is pitching and they're umping, are they going to call every pitch a strike? No, they're able to call balls and strikes. They're able to do their job. Okay, surgeons can operate on people, attorneys, every professional, everyone that has any self-respect at all, and I believe Peter Strzok did. He was top man at a top law enforcement, the best law enforcement in the world, our law enforcement agency. So while he's on the job, he did the job. Second of all, it's like an umpire where you see in baseball, there's like 4 umpires on the field. So if one of them really did start calling outrageous calls, obvious balls, he called strikes. Obvious guy out at first, he called him safe. The other umpires would like gather together and they go, what do you have against this guy? Do you have something personal against this pitcher or whatever? You know what? We're putting you out into left field or out at third base or you're out of the or something. I mean, you can't do that. And then there's film and there's people, the head of umpires back in New York are watching the film. I know officials from the NFL, and they're like, oh yeah, all that game film after the game is looked over. Every second of it, every frame has gone back and forward. We're judged and we're rated and this and that, and everyone's watching everything we do. All these umpires and officials are. So, and so is Peter Strzok. So I believe him. He says, look, if I wanted to do something, there's hundreds of other agents which just said you can't do that. Which, by the way, to me, the proof of that is all these vile text messages that he sent. Because he was venting. He's so frustrated that he can't take the actions he wants to take against the guy he can't stand, Donald Trump. And it's not because if it's Republican and Democrat type of thing, of course not. In case anyone's under any misconception that Trump is either one of those. Because Trump is simply an outsider. And so whether you're Republican or Democrat, they all hate Donald Trump. Whether it's Paul Ryan or Mitch McConnell or John McCain. I mean, the most Republicans cannot stand Donald Trump. The Democrats cannot stand Donald Trump. None of them can because they're all the entrenched establishment swamp dwellers of Washington, D.C., of the U.S. Well, what do you think Peter Strzok is? He's a career, lifetime, swamp-dwelling, I love the government creature in the U.S., which, again, is who we want on our side. Now that he's fired by the FBI, I certainly hope he doesn't go to some other country and get a job. You want him working for Russia? You want him working for Iran? You want him working for China against the U.S.? How stupid is that? They should not have fired him and should have kept him on and just given him another case and said, go after this drug dealer, Mr. Terminator, because that's who he is. He's just going to go out and do his job. So on his off time at night while he's having an affair, he's texting all kinds of vile messages. He probably on breaks he had to go send text messages because he just got shot down with another anti-Trump thing he tried to do, and they're like, you can't do that. He's like, crap, I better send some text messages and vent how frustrated I am that I can't do what I want to do. So I believe, number one, that that's how he was responding to every single time he got handed a case instantly. That guy is the biggest enemy of him and of the world, and I'm going to go get him. And number two, if he's thwarted in underhanded tactics he tries to take to go get him, he's going to vent in private talks and phone calls and emails and talking over dinner and whatever. If you had all those recordings, you'd be saying the same thing. But if you were on the job, you'd see a guy that, just like a surgeon, an airline pilot, an attorney, they can handle people that they don't agree with and do their job. Okay, when somebody that the airline pilot doesn't like gets on the plane, he doesn't say, oh, I'm going to crash the plane, or I'm going to kick him off. He does his job. That's what Peter Strzok did, if you ask me. In America, or what does Jack Nicholson say at the end of the movie? He says it right to Tom Cruise. He said, you're not a hero, or whatever. You weakened the country today. That's what you did, son. Well, that's what happened when Peter Strzok was fired by the FBI. The country was weakened. That guy was an animal, a pit bull, a Doberman, a Terminator, the absolute finest law enforcement we can churn out in the U.S. that'll just go after that target no matter what. And when he's questioned about it, he will lie right to the camera, straight-faced, not bat an eye. I mean, he's an FBI agent. Is he not trained to detect lies, to lie himself? I mean, it was just great to see, and I'm sorry to see him go. And Rob Reiner, who thinks that the Weasley weenie Tom Cruise is the hero, who got the full bird colonel, off the wall from protecting us in Guantanamo. Somehow the hero is the Weasley kid? Like, then I guess you like the fact that Peter Strzok was fired. I'm in favor of the strong defenders of our country, which includes, whether you like it or not, folks, Peter Strzok was a shining example of that. So yeah, did he do some things he shouldn't have? Of course. But was he great for America and a great example of training of American law enforcement? Absolutely. Now, here's the good news. He's not the only one. So even though he's gone, I am hoping, and I'm sure there are hundreds and thousands more coming up right behind him. More pit bulls, more Terminators, more Peter Strzok's, just with different names. Now, they won't be unleashed, hopefully, ever again on the opposing political candidate. What a ridiculous thing to sick FBI agents on, and the DOJ and all this stuff. And I think it's all going to come out. And if it does, the truth does come out, which is almost undoubtedly that Obama orchestrated the whole thing, I guess it'd be pretty bad for him. Not that it really matters, but hopefully that never happens again. And they are only sent after what the FBI, I think the FBI was born to go after sex trafficking, right? That's what it was born to do like 100 years ago, like to go after actual real criminals. And then all this stuff, you'd be all celebrating all the text messages and all the way he acted and all the way he thought and all the way he lied and all the way he talked, because he's on the side of right. So you got to put aside all this political BS and that you like Trump or whatever if you don't like Peter Strzok. Like, Peter Strzok was great for America as long as he was with the FBI. Okay, now let's go to the questions, comments, concerns, see what's going on here. Lots of stuff here. Ace is saying, you're about to get creamed. Look at that haboob. Yeah, there is a tremendous dust storm, which out here we call the haboob, which, as I've been pointing out, is coming in with the thunder, the lightning. Well, that's when I chose to come out here. I said, let's have some live action in the background while we do this. That's why they fired Comey. He's the trainer. I don't think so by a long shot. You can believe that. I don't believe by any stretch of the imagination that Comey was calling the shots on that deal. There's almost zero doubt. Obama not only knew what was going on, they said that in the text messages. Obama wants to know everything. Why does Obama want to know everything? Because he's eating popcorn on the sidelines and just watching Comey orchestrate? I don't think so. I don't think Obama, one of the most power-hungry people you have to be president. I mean, egotistical, power-hungry, they all are. You think he's sitting there on the sidelines going, Comey is really going after this Donald Trump guy. I get, that's probably wrong, but, I'm just going to sit here and watch and, no way. He was briefed on every step. He knew everything happening, and maybe Comey or somebody else came up with the idea or started it, but Obama knew all about it. And so Obama could have said, hey, wait a minute. You got to put that pit bull back in the cage. Otherwise, he's going to bite somebody, and then we're going to have to put him down, which he got fired, and it's going to damage the person he's biting, and technically that's an illegal thing to do. Now, illegal and ethical things to do, of course, never stopped Obama his whole life. I mean, that's how he lives, and he's so slick about it, unlike Trump, who's just blatantly transparent and honest about his illegal and unethical dealings. That's just who he is. Obama's so slick that he puts out like he's such a, upstanding, high-minded guy that we go high, they go low. Ooh, I'm so high, and people really still respect the guy. It's amazing, even though clearly, I believe, Comey was taking his orders right from the top. And Ace says that's how Chicago thug politics work. Well, that's how all thug politics, that's how politics is. That's why it's the swamp. And no matter what Trump says or thinks, or anyone thinks, there's no way he's going to drain it, because they all know he's only there 4 years, 8 years, whatever. They'll weather the storm, speaking of storm. And then in will come back an establishment, somebody, and everyone will be back up to their old games. So all they got to do is weather the storm. Now, some of them didn't, right? All these FBI and DOJ people getting fired and let go, like, I don't know, 5 or 10 of them so far, and there's more coming. A whole bunch of politicians are retiring, like Paul Ryan, the weenies, Trey Gowdy, Paul Ryan, all the weenies, Tom Cruise, weenie types are retiring because they can't deal with having to be under Donald Trump, Jeff Flake, and Bob Cork, all these anti-Trump, pro-establishment losers. Oh, sorry, the game is up. Trump is not going to take your crap anymore. So they're either giving up, they're retiring, they're getting fired, they're going away, but sorry, the swamp is so deep, and there's no way Trump can even have a dent in it. And when he said, I want to hire people that are not part of the swamp, I'm sure he found out very quickly that what happened is he had an administration full of people that don't know what they're doing. That's why the first few months were so disjointed and discombobulated, because he tried to hire all outsiders who came into the White House, and none of them know what they're doing. So what are you going to do? You're either going to hire swamp dwellers who know their way around, know what they're doing, and know what they're doing, know how to get legislation passed, or you're going to hire all outsiders and get nothing done. So swamp is the swamp. It's too thick, too deep. The country's too much of a mess that way. Buzz is here. Deborah's great seeing you. Who else is here? Up, get off the screen. What did I do here? I'm having trouble scrolling here. Dr. Rich is here. Great seeing you. Ace says you can't handle the truth. I'm sure he's talking to somebody else, because I can absolutely handle the truth. Jeff Ducharme is here. Jeff says hello. Great seeing you. Jeremy Danley is here. A master of Facebook Live videos. Does one himself every single day. Phil Brakefield says that's the best green screen behind you I've ever seen. Right. And not only is it a green screen, but it's also got sound coming out of it. I got the thunder and the lightning and the rolling black clouds of the Haboob and the monsoon. And the thing is, I can tell, sorry to disappoint, but when I see sunlight on both sides of the clouds, I kind of know it's actually passing over. So we might get a few drops, but the storm is up to the northeast up there. You can see in the background, you don't need to be pointing at it, you can see it. And I think it's passing over here. Just my thought. That's what's happening recently. I'm becoming an expert on monsoons because these storm clouds are rolling in almost every night. But a couple of times they've kind of been like this and they passed over, because I can see way too much sunlight over there, way too much sunlight there. And so this is just a temporary thing, which I'd love to have a view from afar at it, because it must just look really cool. Ace says, Fall Guy, yeah, absolutely. McCabe, Comey, Struck, Page, or all these folks are fall guys for the actual people at the top that were greasing the wheels and running everything. Hillary, Obama, the whole, criminal cabal. Like, Joe Foley is here. Great seeing you. Joe, been trying to get a hold of you. If you're still here, get a hold of me, will you? Respond to one of my calls, texts, Facebook messages, something. Got some good news for you. Stacy is here. Jim is here. Mark Polis is here. Mark Polis, great seeing you. And I got opportunity for you. So thanks everyone being here today. I was waiting until the storm started, but like I said, I really think it's passing over. So lots of wind and lightning and thunder, and but I don't think we're going to get hit right here where we are. But I know that if I turned on the news in the morning, local TV channels, I'd see trees uprooted, roofs torn off, windows busted, and cars hanging under power lines that are down, flooding all over the streets, because it's kind of an everyday thing here. So that's it for Topical Tuesday. There's my rant on Peter Strzok, the latest Jack Nicholson, you can't handle the truth, you need me on that wall character, to be deposed by a weenie Tom Cruise type or whoever fired him, because, okay, he did a lot of bad stuff, he's a bad guy, but he's our bad guy. Okay, so like in sports, I remember this, I lived in Boston for about 18 years, from going there to college till staying there another 10 or 11 years or whatever, and I remember this guy Danny Ainge. Okay, so he was the dirtiest player in the NBA. And when he played on Utah or whoever he played on, once in a playoff game or in a game against the Boston Celtics, there was like a scramble for a loose ball and a big pileup. And in the pileup, Danny Ainge actually bit the finger of one of the Celtics players to try and get the ball loose. That's what a dirty scum player he was. Well, guess what? Red Auerbach, who was running the Celtics, traded for Danny Ainge. Well, when Danny Ainge came on to the Celtics, suddenly all Boston loved him. Oh, Danny Ainge, he's a pit bull. He's really going after him. Now I'm getting the wind is getting I'm going to go inside here. Or at least I guess the rain starts coming. And so, that's the thing. When it's your pit bull, you love him. And he was America's pit bull. They should not have fired him. Of course, they had to, I guess, politically. But I would have loved to just reassign him to drug dealers and pedophiles and rapists and murderers and Hillary Clinton and people that are real criminals. Anyway, that's it. For a Topical Tuesday. I say throwback because I'm getting kind of thrown back here. So So you're experiencing live storm activity. I am practically getting blown off of my own terrace. I'm certainly getting rained on. We're having some fun now. And as long as I'm not like the father, the priest playing golf in Caddyshack, I will not be hit. However, I might. Whoa! Blew the camera and the phone out of my hands. At least the phone is not overheating. How about that? Furniture is starting to blow over now. I'm going to head inside. Thanks for being here today on Topical Tuesday. I'll catch you tomorrow on Wisdom Wednesday. I can tell you right now, one piece of wisdom: do not stand outside in the middle of a monsoon.